Hello everyone, it's Wasim again, back with the third Roblox scripting tutorial. And in this video, I'd like to cover more of the Boolean operators, particularly a category of Boolean operators called logical operators. So these are the and, or, and not operators. This is in contrast to the relational operators, one of which you've already seen, the double equals, which compares to see if both sides of the operator evaluate to the same expression, or in other words, the expressions evaluate to the same thing, they're equal. There are some other relational operators as well. For example, the less than. For example, you can check to see if 3 is less than 2, like so. And then it'll just return true if it is and false if it's not. There's greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to. These are pretty self-explanatory if you understand how the double equals works. So I won't go over those, but there's many resources online for you to understand this. And lua.org is one of those resources. But today I'll put particular attention to the logical operators because the workings of these operators is a little bit more complex. But first, I would like to talk about one other value type. We've went over a variety of value types such as booleans, strings, numbers. But there is one value type that will be relevant for this tutorial, and that is the nil. Nil is the absence of a value. So it basically represents nothing, the absence of a value. And you'll see more and more the usefulness of having nil as a value as we go forward, not only in this tutorial, but in the tutorials to come as well. So the very first logical operator we'll go over is the AND operator. And here you can see I have a series of expressions that I'm printing out, each involving the AND operator. And if we go ahead and run this, you will see a series of outputs for each line. So 3 and 5 evaluates to 5, 3 plus 5 equals 8, and 3 less than 5 evaluates to true, and false and false. So how does this operator work exactly? So the first thing you should know is that any of the logical operators, for any of the logical operators, nil and false are treated as false. They're both considered as false. Any other value, like 3, true, even strings, are considered as true values. This is just for the logical operators specifically. So knowing that, let's go over how the AND operator works. So for the AND operator, for the entire expression to evaluate to true, both sides of both expressions on either side of the operator have to both evaluate to true. So 3 has to be true and 5 has to be true for this whole thing to evaluate to true, right? So now you might wonder, okay, well, if this expression is supposed to evaluate to true, then why does it print out 5 when we print it out? So the reason why that is because, well, because remember, the first thing that these operators work left to right, right? All binary operators are left associated except for a few. So AND is the same way. So 3 will be the first expression to evaluate. And if 3 is a false value, right, then this whole expression is automatically false, because this whole expression will automatically evaluate to a false value, right? Because both sides have to be true. So if the left side is already false, then why even bother evaluating the right side, right? So the way the AND operator works is that it actually evaluates to the most the last executed expression, right? So if if this left side was false, or let's say nil, right, then since nil would the null expression is considered false, right? So it would not even look at 5 because it automatically makes this whole thing false. So the last evaluated expression is the left side, which evaluated to nil, and so it would print out nil in this situation. So if we run this, evaluates to nil. Now, but if this was a true value, like let's say 4, and maybe the left side is, the right side is false. So this is true, but for the entire thing to evaluate to true, you also need to check the right side as well, because this being true doesn't tell you that they're both true, right? So you need to still evaluate the right side. But the right side, it looks at it, evaluates it, and evaluates to false. So it would just return the last evaluated expression, which is the right side. So it would just return false in this situation. And then that's false. All right, so now let's apply the same logic to the rest of the expressions. So for this expression, we know that in this expression, and will be the last thing that evaluates, and is left associative. So the left side expression will evaluate first, and then within the left side expression, we know that the double equals will be the last thing that evaluates, and it's left associative. And so we look at this, and then we have 3 plus 5, and then we actually have our first expression that evaluates to 8, and then we have 8 equals 8, which is true. And then we look to the right side of the and expression, and then it says 3 less than 5, and 3 less than 5 is also true. So true and true is true, because this will be the last evaluated expression, because even though this is true, the right side still has to evaluate for us to know if the entire thing is true. And indeed it does evaluate to true, and so we get true as an output. And then this one is really simple. The right side is the last thing that is evaluated, and we get false. And then for this one, hello world is considered true, but the right side still has to evaluate. 2 plus 5 equals 7, 7 not equal to 10, and then we get false. But for the last one, let's say that we make it, let's say we make the first one, 5 and hello world. In this case, they're both true, but this is the last expression to get evaluated, so we'll get hello world. Yep, and we get hello world. Now let's go over the OR operator. I'm just going to switch all the ands to ORs. So OR is the exact opposite of AND. For the entire expression to evaluate to true, only one of the expressions has to be true, right? And it's also left associative, so it goes from left to right. So in this case, 4 is already true, so it doesn't even have to look at false, right? So 4 would be the last evaluated expression, and so this should print 4. So I'm going to put a comment, prints 4. And then in this case, this evaluates to true, 8 is equal to 8, and so it doesn't even have to look at this side. So this should print true. And in this case, it's very obvious, that's true. And then in this case, we can switch it up, put false here, or nil, either way, and then it will evaluate to hello world, because if this is false, I still need to evaluate this expression to figure out if the entire thing evaluates to true or false, and since it's the last thing evaluated, I'll just get whatever this right side expression evaluates to. In this case is hello world. And if you run it, you get for true true hello world. Now the not operator, the last of our logical operators, is actually pretty simple. So the not is actually a unary operator, and what it does is it does sort of negation. So if I say, it does a logical negation. So if I say not 5, well, 5 in according to these logical operators is considered as a true value, and so not 5 should print out false. So if I run this, we get false. We can try a bunch of other expressions. I can try not nil, which should be true, not false, not hello world, and then not true. So as we notice, is false, this is true, this is true, this is true, oh my god, this is false, and this is false. So if I run this, we get false, true, true, false, false, as we expect. And of course, we can also chain these logical operators together. So the order of operations is very important to keep in mind here, right? So we know that not comes first. So not 3 would actually evaluate first, and not 3 would give us false. And then false is equal to 5 is false. Remember, 5 is only considered true as a true value when we're talking about logical operators. For relational operators, that doesn't apply. The only expression the only way this could be true is if this was like 5. The only way, only 5 is equal to 5 would ever be true. Any other value equals 5 is equal to 5 is false, right? So you have to bear in mind that for these relational operators, they take things literally, right? So that also means that nil equals false is false. They're not the same thing. According to the only time that you can they are treated the same is in the context of the logical operators. In the context of relational operators, they are not the same. They're not the same value, right? Okay. And so false equals 5 is false. And since this is an and, false, there's no way this entire expression can be true, so this will be the last evaluated thing, and it'll print out false. And if we run this, we get false, false. All right, I think I will wrap it up here. If you liked the video, don't forget to like the video. If you have questions, feel free to drop a comment and subscribe. So I will see you next time. Thank you.